بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على النبي المصطفى الأمين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم لك الحمد ولك الشكر كله، وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانيته وسره. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت، بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت، ولا معطي لما منعت، ولا راد لما قضيت. وإن يمسسك الله بضر فلا كاشف له إلا هو، وإن يمسسك بخير فهو على كل شيء قدير. استغفر الله ربي من كل جميع الذنوب والخطايا وأتوب إليك، ولا حول لنا ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أما بعد، يقول سبحانه وتعالى في محكم آياته وتنزيله بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. أياما معدودات، فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين، فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له، وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم، ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر، ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم، ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Jazakumullah khair. Once again, to my dear brother and Dr. Fiyaz, Hafidhahullah, and also to all of those who are, who are part of organizing such a venture, such a wonderful way of remaining connected during these precarious times. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate for you Jannah and the means towards attaining His pleasure, just like the way you have facilitated this medium and this platform for myself and for also my brothers and sisters who are attending. Now it can be a bit surreal when all I can see in front of my screen, a few tabs, and I can of course see my own face, which isn't always a pleasant sight. But I'd like to see, of course, some of you interacting with me during the course of this conversation and during the course of today's webinar. It's not a seminar per se, it's a webinar. And I like that because a web has multiple points of connection. And a seminar perhaps is just a monologue with a one-way sort of a person speaking. And the webinar for me would suggest that inshallah you would be interacting with me too. So please do not feel shy to put your hand up, to just interject. I'm very much inshallah in favor of you asking questions. I'm very much in favor of you educating me. By no means am I in front of you someone who is sort of there's no assumption or presumption that I should be the one talking over here. I've been asked to talk and I'm talking, but I'm sure at the same time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you many openings and many insights from which I could benefit too, inshallah, from what others could also take benefit from. So please feel free to, as I say, to enrich this session, bi'idhnillah, with your anecdotes and with your comments, bi'idhnillah wa ta'ala. I also would like to thank my dear brother Naseem Ashraf. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you Jannah for your relentless commitment to da'wah, whether it's iCare or whether it's these webinars, as well as my senior brother, Dr. Fiyaz. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala build for you homes and palaces in Jannah, bi'idhnillah wa ta'ala. Ameen. These are unprecedented times. And of course, today's halaqah is about Ramadan and Ramadan, a healing for the believer. But before I talk about that, let's talk about what's happening. Of course, we see that people are in a state of panic. People are, some are, they say that there are two giants out there right now. The first giant is the fear of money, because people are now scared about, the FTSE, for example, has been hit big time. I mean, it's plummeted to such a degree now, where there's apparently just 2 weeks ago, they said there's something along the lines of £60 billion of sort of decline. Can you imagine that? And then, of course, the world economy is now in a decline. I don't know where you guys, I'm sure you are from all over England, but over here in Manchester, we're seeing military sort of aircrafts flying around everywhere, of course, supporting and aiding the citizens. NHS is under a lot of pressure right now. And people, okay, there's short-term excitement. Wow, we're not going to work, and people are sort of relaxing at home, and some are taking it as a holiday. But there's some serious tragedies going on, and let's not fool ourselves, not kill ourselves just because we may be sort of cushioned away, and this way we don't get to see the extent of how the virus has caused the deaths of so many people, over 6,000 right now as the counts go, in the UK alone. And so this is no doubt a situation and an episode which the believer doesn't take lightly. A believer is someone who has belief in Allah's decree, and a believer takes every opportunity to read the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through events and through the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His creation, whether it's the moon or the sun, but also in events. And there's no doubt that inna fi dhalika la ayah. Indeed, in this there is a sign. And if you looked at the people who were destroyed before us, whether it's the people of Thamud, or the people of Aad, or the people of Lut, or if it was the people of Shu'aib, the Ashabi Madian, or the people of Nuh for that matter, they received signs, yet they ignored these signs. You see? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كُلِّهَا فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ أَخْذَ عَزِيزٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. They belied, they rejected, they dismissed, they ignored all of our signs. So we seized them, we took them. Why? Because what? They rejected the signs. I mean, think about the sign of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's staff turning into a serpent. The experts are giving you witness, telling you that this cannot be magic. And we are not ready to challenge this man. We believe. We believe. آمنا بربي وهارون وموسى. We believe in the master of Musa and Harun. The Lord, we believe. We don't care about you, Fir'aun, anymore, because this is a sign, and this is no magic. This is a miracle. But Fir'aun, no. Haman, no. To the people who are averse or ignorant of the signs of Allah, are people who are driven by their own toxic agenda. Are people who have this false sense of immunity, who think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger will never come to them. The people who feel that they are above, a cut above the rest of humanity, and they feel so entrenched in their sort of the feeling of power, and the feeling of being comforted by their cronies and by the millennials. They feel that they're above anything else, but they're not. Namrud is the one who claimed Nimrod. He said to Ibrahim, and we know the case that Nimrod had stipulated upon his people that whoever wanted food had to come to him, and then they had to claim that he was God. And if they rejected that, then of course he would hold them to account that they would get no food. But Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he went in front of the court of Nimrod, he said, "Who is your Lord?" He said, "Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumeet." My master is the one who gives life and who takes away life. But because of this false sense of supremacy and this power that Nimrod had, this arrogance, He said, Ana uhyi wa umit. What are you talking about? I give life and I take death. And we know that he took an innocent man and took his death. And he took an imprisoned man and he gave him freedom. And said, look, I do that. But Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam said, قال فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب. Said, no, indeed, Allah causes the sun to rise from the east, so you make it rise from the west. And we know that for Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he stood his ground in front of such a tyrant, tyranny and oppression, and belong to these people who feel that they are beyond Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath. So this is a time where we, all of us, need to really ponder upon what's happening around us. That not only have we abused the earth so much and the world so much, but also there's been abuse and there's been injustice and oppression from leaders upon their subjects. And the ones who belie the signs of Allah are the arrogant people. وَلَقَدْ أَخَذْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ بِالسِّنِينَ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. And I remember telling you this a fortnight ago. That Fir'aun and his people, they were sent signs. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent upon them frogs and blood. And Sinin in Arabic means that there was a drought for many years. Where, the economy plummeted then. Fir'aun didn't know what to do. So in such moments of despair, they turned around to Musa and said, okay, go call upon your Lord, even with arrogance. ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك. لئن كشفت عنا الرجز لنؤمنن لك. And if your Lord lifts this ban, this embargo, this calamity from us, we will believe in you. And we will send free for you the Banu Israel. But his arrogance actually didn't allow for him to exercise his promise. Because the Quran says, فَلَمَّا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُمُ الرِّجْزَ إِلَى أَجَلٍ بَالِغُوهُ إِذَا هُمْ يَنكُثُونَ. But as soon as we lifted this ban, we gave them rain, we gave them crops. Yeah, for some time, they broke their promise. And Allah says, فَانْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ. So we seized him, we took him. Allah is the avenger, is the muntaqim. So why am I talking about all of this? I'm talking about all of this because as believers, we don't become dismissive. We don't dismiss these signs. We pay heed to them. We think about them. We can say that, subhanAllah, these microbes, they're designed to help us. Culture, you have a lot of people buy yogurt drinks which have live culture in them. Microbes are good microbes. They help digest your food. We know we need microbes to get rid of waste, for example, biodegrading of fruits and vegetation, even the human corpse, for example. So microbes are the army of Allah. They work however Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands them to work. But now these are the same, these are microbes. This virus is nothing but more than microbes who are instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like the way the feel was instructed. Just like the way the أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. Just like the elephants were instructed when Abraha wanted to take down the Kaaba, him and his cronies. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent upon them birds, which pelted them with stones. These are the same creation that were instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who would know Abraha being this great king who thought he had all power, and he came with elephants. He didn't come with donkeys or horses, he came with elephants, which are strong and mighty. If you looked at the leg of an elephant, it's strong, holds the person up, can uproot trees and stuff. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them a punishment in a way and in a form which no one could have anticipated. Birds coming and dropping just pea-sized pebbles which would go through them, which would cause them paralysis. How so? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. It's as simple as that. And so these are moments in which we should think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's glory and His majesty and His power. And to sort of go home and isolate ourselves in the Musalla area and reconnect with our Creator who holds in His hands all good and all bad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُوَ. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to touch you with some harm, there's no one to remove it except for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And if He wants to afflict you with some harm, then He, over every small thing, is most capable, most able, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing goes unwatched in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's dominion. Nothing goes without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's consent. It's all by design. But now let the world breathe for a bit as the humans are forced to go indoors. When we're forced to go indoors, we stop abusing the earth. I don't know about you, but the sun's come out in Manchester for many days. I mean, it's like 22.5 degrees. This is heat and sun that I've never seen before. So ever since, like, Allah knows how long, like at this time, spring season, for the sun to be out, mashallah. Seems like the sun's even happy with humanity going back indoors, and we've taken a break from all the abuse and all the oppression that we've caused to the earth, that is decided to show up again. And perhaps this Ramadan is a good time for us to really reflect on our own condition, our collective condition, our individual condition, in the way we conduct ourselves out in the open. But this is a good time to make those reparations. It's a good time to heal ourselves during this Ramadan. Hence, this webinar is called Ramadan, a time for healing. It's a time for healing for all of us. I want to just share with you just a few thoughts in relation to the verses which I recited in the beginning of this webinar, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, and He says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, believers, kutiba alaykum as-siyam, that fasting has become binding upon you. كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون, just like it binded those before you so that you may attain a higher level of awareness of God. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, believers, O you who believe. This is an exclusive address for only a specific type of people. In other words, those who believe. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, كنا إذا سمعنا قول الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا قمنا وانتفضنا. That whenever we would hear the address يا أيها الذين آمنوا, believers, he said we would stand up and we would become alert. Why? Because Allah is speaking to me, and He is going to give me certain instructions which either are going to be of benefit to me, or is it they give me certain negations which I need to abstain from. Both are in my interest. So Allah is addressing each one of us through this special address. The best address, the best way anyone can refer to you, regardless of your qualifications and your prefixes, and regardless of who you are, regardless of whatever your accomplishments may be, regardless of your heritage or your lineage, or your clan, or your profession, whether you have an OBE or an MBE, the most honorable title you have is a believer. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, believers. So as soon as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses you as a believer, let that strike us, let that wake us up that subhanallah, Allah is addressing me as a believer. How proud. It's a proud moment for you and a proud moment for me. Allah can address me through this prism. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have addressed me through anywhere. You're going to address me through a sinner, or you sinner. And that would be true in each one of our cases. He could have addressed us through Yabna Adam, O son of Adam, O perpetual sinner, O insan. But no. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers. In other words, He's addressing us with this noble title of belief, not to be taken lightly. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been prescribed upon you. As-siyam, we know it to be fasting. But if we look at the root word of siyam, of course we know that it comes from sawm, which means to restrain. How do we know that? Well, we know that when we look at the case of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, where she makes a promise to Allah that she's not going to talk and she's going to restrain from talking. And she said, Inni nazartu lirrahmani sawma. I have made a firm covenant with the most compassionate that I'm going to restrain myself from explaining myself. I'm just going to leave it to Allah. Sometimes the situations get really bad. I mean, of course, Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam has been accused by all sorts by her people. Okay, they're trying to defame her. She says, I'm going to just remain quiet. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exonerate me. And that we know that Isa alayhi salatu wasalam spoke. But she used the word sawm. And what she meant was to restrict, okay, and to restrain her words. In the same way, the Arabs would refer to the place in which they would restrain their camels as the masam. See, it comes from the same word, sama yasumu masam, the place of restraint. Yeah, they would restrain the horses, they would tie it so it doesn't flee. So in this sense, Psalm in essence is this idea of taking charge of that soul, of really limiting and restricting that nafs which likes to pounce on the object of desire whenever it sees it. Be it the gaze, be it the ears, be it the utterance of something which could damage you and damage the other person. So masam then is the idea of restraint, and that is at the essence of what Ramadan is. Because the Prophet ﷺ says, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّرْ وَالْعَمَلَ فِيهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةً فِي أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Whoever does not put away fabrication, speaking lies, and acting upon these lies, then Allah is not in need of His apparent superficial fasts. We're going to be at home during Ramadan. And I can tell you that being in quarantine, being in isolation, social distancing is actually, as much as we hate the idea of not going to the masjid, as much as we find it very difficult to digest the lack of congregational ibadah that we're going to be sort of missing out on, I would tell you that it's a good time for you to truly restrain yourself. Because we harm a lot of people when we go out there in ways that we may not know. Being at home means that we have to exercise that restraint with our family members. And that's where the true test comes in, brothers and sisters. Restraining our nafs against the temptations which shaitan provokes us to succumb to in our homes. Shouting out at our partner, maybe our spouse, in front of the children. You know, this soft tongue, it's a tiny morsel of flesh, really it is. It's very fickle. But when desired, it can be sharper than a sword. And when desired, it can actually cause more harm and damage to the victim more than a sword, my brothers and sisters. So being careful about what you say to the other person in your home, to your family member, is part of fasting. Allah doesn't want to see how you abstain from the nice biryani that's cooking at the time of Asr. Yes, that's a basic primordial level of test. Yes. Allah knows that you're probably not going to, end up committing any, apparent haram during your fast. But the true test is in these finer tests, the way you conduct yourself with adab and akhlaq with your family members. Not lashing out, not being quick to degrade, and not to be being quick in criticizing your spouse and your family member, etc. So restraining yourself then is very important. And a good way of doing that is to truly evaluate what you say. As said by Imam, the great Hassan al-Basri, when people would see him almost quiet every day, and they would say to him, Ya Hassan al-Basri, لماذا نراك كثير الصمت? Why is it that we see you almost silent all the time? What did he say? He said that إني لأزن كلامي قبل أن أقوله. I weigh what I'm about to say before I publish it. Look at that. He evaluates, ratifies, checks, accounts for what he's about to say right now. If you're a professional, let's say a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, you have to be very, very careful about the statement that comes out of your mouth. Because if you say something innocently, without proper knowledge, or recklessly, you can get done. You get done for what? You can either get done for negligent misstatement, you can get done for innocent negligent misstatement, you can get done for misrepresentation. Why? Because the other person may rely on what you have to say and they act according to what you've said, and what you've told them is wrong advice. So even in the human sense, we have to be very careful in professions. But that's other human beings, and that's the courts taking into account what you're saying. But what about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We say what we say without thinking that it's going to have some sort of a consequence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes into account everything. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. When even a single utterance, not a single word is uttered, except that those who sit as watchers and recorders write down everything. Subhanaka ya Rabb. And so therefore, Hassan al-Basri, he would remain quiet. And then somebody said to him, why is it that you don't speak? He says, إِنِّي لَأَزِنُ كَلَامِ. I weigh my speech before I say it. فَإِنْ وَجَدْتُهُ يُوضَعُ فِي مِيزَانِ حَسَنَاتِي قُلْتُهُ. If I know that what I'm about to say will ultimately lead me to having ajr, like this saying, these words are going to be placed on the weighing scales, in the good side of the weighing scales on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, I say it. And then if I know that what I'm about to say is going to lead to these words being placed on the wrong side of the scales on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, I don't say it. Then he said, فَرَأَيْتُ جُلَّ كَلَامِ يُوضَعُ فِي مِيزَانِ سَيِّئَاتِ. And then I realized that majority of what I'm about to say will be ending up in the wrong side of the scales. فَتَرَانِي كَثِيرَ الصَّمْتِ. That's why you see me being quiet all the time. Look at that. So restraint, my brothers and sisters. And of course, that's why Imam al-Ghazali, when he talks about fasting, he says there are 3 levels of fasting. The first is what's known as Sawm al-Aam. And that is the generic fast. The generic fast. And that anybody does. You also have people, bodybuilders, you have nutritionalists, and all sorts of people who now and then, there's also a concept called fast for 4 hours. In those 4 hours, don't consume anything. You know, anybody could do that. But that's the superficial fast, entry-level fast. And that's number one. So fasting from food and drink, and of course, conjugal relations, anybody could do that. But the second type is a type of fast, what's known as Sawm al-Khas, which is a specific type of fast, which means preventing your hands, your arms, your limbs, your senses from receiving anything that is questionable or haram. Okay? And then there's a higher degree of fast than that, what's called Sawm Khusus al-Khusus, which is when the heart fasts against wrongful thoughts, against distractions. That's at a deeper cognitive, psycho-spiritual level. That's what we should try and get. That I don't want Ramadan just to be about the apparent change, because it's easy to do apparent change. I know, for example, every Ramadan I have a set of brothers who come, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. Okay. And I know who they are. They're the Ramadan brothers, the Ramadan bros. That companionship with that is beautiful. And you also get the Ramadan stubble. And you get the Ramadan miswak. And that sort of temporary honeymoon phase is proof of a superficial transformation. To give you a better example, I remember when my brothers, my house, we had a bit of a leak in the ceiling. And we called, a plumber to come down. And he looked at it, and we left him for a couple of hours. And all he did was put a few, coats of paint over it. And we thought, oh, good job. Next thing you know, 2 days later, it's leaking again. That's a superficial transformation, We've not really attempted to fix the core. The root problem lied in the tiles up there on the roof, which we didn't fix. And so therefore, we need to get to the root of those issues that we have: anger, jealousy, greed. We need to really start making a change on those things. Egotism, fame, wanting more for the sake of more, consumerism, materialism, hedonism, violence, abuse. All of that stems from the nafs, because the nafs contains that the limbs and translate. So it's a time to make those transformations internally through deep reflection, through deep repentance, and through heeding ourselves in Ramadan. By taking to heed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book, allowing the Quran to transform us. Seeking advice, consulting with people who are more knowledgeable, who are recognized in their commitment to the deen, seeking their advice, asking them to make dua, and you making dua, more importantly, trying to look at a practical way of remedying your situation. This is what Ramadan should be about, my brothers and sisters. And so, yes, on one hand, you may feel that we're going to be missing out on the Taraweeh prayers. But as one Christian article put it, that whenever God closes doors, He opens up a browser on your monitor. He opens up a browser. What he's trying to say is, look, yes, doors may be closed, the masajid may be closed, but that's no excuse. We don't worship masajids. We pray in the masajid. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. These are buildings that are erected for the convenience of Jama'ah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all watchful over us. And He's the object of our worship. Whether we worship Him from Mecca over here, our words reach us. إِلَيْهِ يَصْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ. The good word reaches Him. From wherever you are, it doesn't really matter. If it was all about Medina, Mecca, all of the Sahaba would have remained there until their death, but we know that it didn't happen. We had hundreds and thousands of them spreading across the globe to take the deen. Yes, the fadl of Medina and Mecca is there for you to pray there. You get the reward of 100,000 prayers. Yes, 50,000, yes, to show the sanctity of those places without a doubt. But at the same time, Allah says, أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Do they not travel the vast earth? When a people become fixated with certain places at certain times, our religion is more fluid than that. It's more dynamic than that. And so we take opportunity of Ramadan in our homes. Make the iftari table a delight not just for your stomachs, but also for your souls. Prepare good words for your family. Sit with the children. Think about breaking up Islam into nice, digestible, bite-size, forms so that they can accept it and understand it. You be the Imam, O father. You be the Imama, O mother. You be the Khatib, O father. And so Ramadan then, yes, we may be missing out on the opportunities outside. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us also many opportunities through the many means and mediums which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for us to take full opportunity to implement the values of Ramadan, the spirit of Ramadan inside our homes too. And of course, when we talk about restraint in Ramadan, we're talking about restraint in every sense. Of course, Ramadan is where all the nice parathas come out. We stock up for Ramadan, and it's where all the nice, lavish sort of meals come out on the iftari table. And sometimes it has adverse effects. We end up consuming more and restraining ourselves. In fact, I remember last year or the year before, reading an article where it showed that Vimto had exponential spikes in the UAE during Ramadan in terms of its sales. It was like these were the sales, and they just went literally a spike like this during Ramadan. It means that we're consuming more. Sometimes, we eat so much at the iftari table that when it comes to praying behind the Imam, we can hardly focus. The Imam is reciting from Surah Al-Baqarah. We feel that we have a Baqarah in our own stomach. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. The idea is to try and control ourselves and to restrain ourselves as much as we can during Ramadan. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm also sort of cautious about time. We don't have much time left. I'll end in a minute or two. I'll wait for any further questions. Lastly, I just want to move on to 2 points. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associates Ramadan with the Quran, and He says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed. True transformation and the true remedy lies in understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's advice, His words, and applying them into our lives. Allama Iqbal said, إن هذا القرآن إذا دخل قلب الإنسان تغير الإنسان. If it penetrates the heart of the human being, then it causes this human being to transform. Just like Umar, just like the worst of the worst who became the best of the best. وإذا تغير الإنسان تغير العالم. And if it can cause a transformation within human beings, then surely it can cause a global transformation. And the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it as فيه شفاء. قل هو للذين آمنوا هدى وشفاء. Say, for the people who believe, in it is guidance, and in it is also a cure. The Quran has a cure for everything. take guidance from the Quran during Ramadan. Recite a portion of it daily with the intention of understanding it, with the intention of acting upon it. Whether it's 3 verses, whether it's an entire surah, each to his own fill and his or her own capacity. So there's no compromise there with the Quran al-Karim. It has to be there every single day. If you don't feel you're proficient in reciting it, listen and try and recite as much as you can. Get a friend who knows how to recite it and ask him to help you. And moving beyond just translation, you need to think about tadabbur, contemplating the Quran, allowing the words of Allah to enter into your system as though you are an empty vase that's in need of Allah's guidance. Allow the Quran to permeate into your heart, into your system during Ramadan. And lastly, and I will end here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And if my servant should ask about me, then indeed I am near. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. Surely I respond to the caller, to the dua, to the request of the caller if he calls upon me. You know, dua is what we need to do during Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet, in fact, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah in his book, Ad-Da' wa Dawa, he says that, look, مَا نَزَلَ بَلَاءٌ إِلَّا بِذَنْبٍ, that a calamity never afflicted us except through our sins, وَمَا رُفِعَ إِلَّا بِتَوْبَةٍ, and a calamity is never lifted except through repentance. Ibn al-Qayyim also further goes on to say that الدُّعَاءُ عَدُوُّ الْبَلَاءِ, that the enemy for trials and tribulations is dua. And then he says that the du'as have profound effects. One of them is that if there is a decree that is, a trial that's about to descend, the dua will trap it in the heavens and he won't allow for it to descend. And he says, وَإِذَا نَزَلَ, and if the decree, whatever trial is about to come, and it's already manifesting on earth, يُخَفِّفُهُ, your du'as will help you in your trial, it will make it softer. And he says, if it's in the middle way, then the dua will actually intercept that decree and they will end up having an eternal fight, as the hadith tells us. And ultimately, what we learn from this is the importance of dua, especially in the month of Ramadan. So here you are then. Ramadan is a month of restraint, in which we need to practice not just a restraint of our primordial instinctive drives, but also of restraining our bad habits, or character flaws. We need to really dig deep, find out what's going wrong, and how to fix it, and consulting the right people, seeking counsel and advice where necessary. And then we talked about Ramadan being the perfect opportunity for us to imbibe the Ramadan spirit in our own homes, by making the masajid in our own homes, by making the iftar table a point of delight for the souls as well as our stomachs. Strength. And also what we said is Quran and dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of you, and jazakumullah khair for listening. Thank you, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me for anything wrong that I've said, and anything good which I have said. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us act upon it, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us and you, and I pray you have a wonderful Ramadan, inshallah.
Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen, Sheikh. Ameen Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Beautiful. Thank you so much. We've gone over a little bit on time. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. There are no questions. I've not seen any questions on the panel. No, so I think it was very comprehensive, alhamdulillah. So, which means that, inshallah, we just want to remind everybody that same time next week, same place, inshallah ta'ala. I'll be posting the video out on social media, inshallah, so please do watch out for that. And remember us in your du'as. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts, all of our efforts and your efforts for joining, inshallah. And speak to you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.